Welcome to Backyard Bows. Hey, welcome to Backyard Bows. I'm Brandon, and today we got another Prime. So we got the Prime Revex. I think the Revex and the SS34 from Bowtech have been the two bows that I have been most excited about or looking forward to the most. I don't know why. I loved the inline from last year. It was so different from some of the bows that Prime had put out in the past. I liked the direction that they were heading. And then the Revex, I know they lowered those speeds a little bit, which I anticipated a little bit smoother draw. And I have to tell you, I shot this thing a bunch already, okay? I'll be honest. I did the CBE Trek Pro review and setup with this bow. So I've got to shoot it a ton. This is by far the best Prime bow I've put my hands on. And I had a Prime Ion back in the day with that 4-cam system, the dual cams, you know, and I never really bought into that. That was just not for me. And I think Prime let's talk about that for just 1 second. I think the dual cam system, the 4 cams, 2 on top, 2 on bottom, I think that put Prime on the map. Because when you saw it, you were like, what the fuck is that? You know, I think it put Prime on the map. Now that Prime is on the map, what did they end up doing? They ended up going back to a binary cam system. I mean, this is the simplest of setups. Now they're gonna tell you that it has all of these different features, which we'll go over in a second. But in the end, it went back to a very simple system. Now again, they tweaked that mod to kind of tuck those cables back in a little bit in that inline mod that they used on that inline from last year. So they carried that over to the Revex and a couple other features that all kind of, you know, worked in sync to get those cables as tight as they can to help prevent cam lane. So I'm not, again, you know me, I'm not hating on, you know, simple. I think sometimes simple is best. But it's just funny that they've gone for like the most, you know, a 7-string, you know, one of the most complex cam systems, and here we are, and now they're to one of the simplest cam systems. And I think this is the best bow that they've put out. This is one of the smoothest drawing, quietest, best balanced bows I've put my hands on. So between the VTM from Hoyt and the Revex, I think these are the two that I've made up my mind that I'm gonna do everything and I can to keep them in-house and put them into the season. And I got a long ways to go. We got a lot of bows to get in, but this is one is just fantastic. And we'll go over the whole bow. So in Prime fashion, they did what they usually do. They come out with 3 bows. The same bow, 3 different axle to axle lengths. Everything varies a little bit. With the Revexes, they didn't even vary that much. You got the number 2 and the 4, which is 32 inches axle to axle and 34. Those are almost identically the same. 2 feet higher on the feet per second. You got 1 pound heavier on the weight. You got a quarter or a half inch more on the draw length. Like I said, they're virtually almost the same bow. I went with the 2. I always like it right in there, 30, 31, 32. I like a shorter axle to axle bow. I don't like getting under that, and so that's kind of my 34. Between the 34 and 32, I just went with the 32. I wanted something nice and compact. Again, I climb in a lot of tight spaces. I like it to be no more than 32 inches, 33 inches. So let's touch on the 32 specs. You got 32 inches axle to axle. You got 338 on the IBO. You got a 6 1/4 inch brace height. It goes from 26 out to 30 in half-inch increments. It is a set mod, so it's not a rotating module with draw length. Whatever draw length you are, you got to order it to that, and it's a set mod. And I don't mind that either. Some people have a lot to say about that. I don't mind it. I know my draw length. I know what I like to shoot at. You order me a bow, I'm going to keep it at that. You know, maybe for reselling purposes, that makes it kind of tough that somebody thinks they might have to purchase a mod with the bow. Again, that's just not a major factor to me. I think, and we all know that a set module system, you get peak performance out of the bow. If it was a rotating mod, you get the peak performance at 26 and then all the way at the tail end, which is me at 30. And again, it's probably not very noticeable, but they say that is kind of where you lose some of that performance. So you get the peak performance. I know I'm a 30, that's fine. I don't mind that at all. That's not a selling factor to me that I consider. So it's 4.5 pounds. You get it at anywhere between 50 and 80 10-pound increments for the draw weight. I got it at 70 like we always do. So let's cover everything top to bottom. They have consistently went with this same riser look for as long as I can remember. same bridges, you have the same bows to the top and bottom that kind of counter each other, which they say helps with flex. And then you have this signature, which is my favorite part. I'll say it, this is my favorite part of the bow. The grip in general, the placement of the grip and the actual grip itself, I absolutely love. Most bows, when you get them bare, they're a little bit top heavy on you, and you got to do some things to kind of counterbalance that. This bow, right out of the box, it feels so good in hand. Now again, your grip is directly centered into the riser. You have a lot more underneath you, and at full draw, I think these set up. Same with the inline, and if you watch that review, I said the same thing. It's so nice to kind of have some of that weight below your grip. So you got really nice wide limb pockets. The limbs are kind of standard. There's a lot of space between them, but the actual limb pockets themselves are nice and wide. You have the riser that's off center on that limb pocket, and it looks a little funny. So if you notice that, that is how it's supposed to set up and be, and that kind of goes in and factors into this whole inlining those cables and that inline mod system that they put on these, that kind of factors into that as well. But then let's go back to the grips for a second. They have this nano grip technology, which is pretty much a gel that's supposed to help with extreme temperatures. And then you have this nice grip on the outside. I like the shape of it. I like the feel of it, the thickness. These grips, I like them. Like I said, I like the way they're placed, where they're placed, and I like the actual grip itself. Right above, you got 2 burger holes. Something else about this that I like, and they actually made a hamski rest for this, but it actually was very helpful with this ripcord I have on there too. So even if you don't have enough room to use both of those burger holes, something that you can do to kind of prevent that rest from adjusting is it's perfectly perpendicular, the backside right above the grip. And so like on this ripcord, you can just snug that all the way to it, and it kind of prevents it from moving around and makes it a little bit more secure. I love that. And then you have the cable guard, which looks very, very similar to what we see on Bowtech's. It's a flexing cable guard, so when you put it in the press and you loosen it, it will kind of flex back out. And again, that allows those cables to maneuver in full draw when the mods are shifting them over underneath the cams. So something else that I really like are the dampeners and the placement of them. So a lot of companies do this really well. Some companies, I feel like they're just such randomly placed, but these dampeners are perfect. Anywhere right next to those limb pockets where some of that force is going to be kind of vibrating back through the riser, that catches and prevents some of that. I love when we see them right here on the back of the string stop. I think that's a really well placed dampener. So again, the placement of dampeners is very important and where they are located. I love the ones that they have between the limbs. I think those are some of my favorite. They are just like the ones that we saw in Athens. And then I love these 2 right here on the bottom. If it were me, I'd put 2 more up on top. So let's go to the core cam system. This is new. It's a new shape. They have those same kind of inline mods that are going to shift those cables over, but the actual core system itself, I think, was such a better design than the inline. The inline to me was very stiff. It had a little dump on the end. This is so much more linear, and man, it gradually gets easier and easier and easier as you pull back. It's very, very smooth. For it to get the speeds that it does, it's surprising to me for how smooth it is. It reminds me of the Solution SS. So they have a built-in string stop on the back side of that mod with a little velvet liner, and that's actually going to come all the way and make contact with the front cable. Which is a little bit different than we usually see. Usually it makes contact with the back cable, but it always comes forward. And when I pat it in the draw board, that's something that I noticed that was a little bit different than other bows. And then because it is a binary system with no yoke, you have these aluminum shims. So there was a debate in the comments for the inline that somebody thought you could shim this bow or change the shims out because of the way that they're shaped without putting the bow in a press and taking out that axle. I still, to this day, I think you have to take out the axle, and you can use these shims that come with it. They come in different widths, and you can switch out those shims to kind of help you get that perfect bullet hole when you're running it through paper and trying to tune it. I actually was able to tune this thing with just the rest. I didn't have to touch any of the shims, and I was close enough through paper that it felt good to me. But somebody in the comments thought that you could change the shims out because they have, you know, they're kind of a clamp shape. You could change them out without putting it into a press, and I don't think that's the case. And if I'm wrong, somebody get on there and tell me, but that's just what I found, is that you have to take the axle out and you can mess around with them just like you would any shim system. So something else that I don't talk about much is the colors and camo patterns. Prime is super unique in what they do. I love their colors. Last year, the Morel that I had on that inline was my favorite for the year. This Grizzly Brown is gonna be up there with one of my favorites from this year. They have all these mix match camos. They have a scar with multiple colors, which is a really cool camo pattern. I love their unique style with the coloring of the camo, with the limbs and the risers. I think it's one of the best. They have some of the cleanest finishes on bows. Let's go ahead, let's do our single shot assessment. I'm gonna get after it just like I hadn't shot it at all, but I'm gonna sling some arrows through this. It's a beautiful day, and we got a whole bunch of time here this afternoon. But like I said earlier, this is definitely one of the best from Prime that I've ever put my hands on. So again, with it all dressed up as it is, it just feels good. You know, I'm loosely holding it. It doesn't want to topple over the top. When you get this thing in full draw, it feels so nice, and it's such a different feeling having most of that weight under your grip. That center grip to me is so distinct. It's something that you immediately notice. And then that draw cycle, like I said, is just it's so clean. It's such a nice draw cycle. The shot cycle is super clean, and for the Prime and the inline, one of the biggest differences I've seen between them is I had a little bit of vibration in the hand with the inline, but this feels more like an Elite to me. It's one of the cleanest shot cycles. I mean, just comes right off of your palm. You barely feel it until you re-grab the bow. And then that draw cycle, it starts off a little heavy, but not bad. And then it immediately lets go at the end. I love it. I think it's not just one of my favorite bows from Prime. I think this is probably, this would have gave our top 5 for 2022 a run for their money. I mean, this is a fantastic bow. If you're somebody who was interested in the inline, but you didn't get around to getting one, I think this is, if you're still interested in Prime, this is worth, this is worth a test shot. I think this will surprise most people. Okay, so, and again, everything that they're selling you on the inline mod system that's moving those cables over, when you put it in the drawboard, it moves them a little bit, but it's not like they're all the way up under the string and all the way up under the cams. It just kind of helps move them over, again, to prevent some camling. So some of those selling points, those aren't even that big of a deal to me. Just for a regular compound binary cam system bow, this is just top notch. The features are awesome that they added them on there. They have a couple cool things they added. The back bar stabilizer. They actually added a little mount right here in the back of this riser for a certain quiver to kind of be mounted on and to get that real tight and inlined as well. I mean, the whole bow, I'm surprised they didn't do an integrated rest system on the back of this. But I think this bow is probably, this is going to be one of the better ones of the year for sure. It balances really nice. Full draw, this is one of my favorite feeling bows. Super clean shot cycle, and the draw cycle, because I was imagining something with the inline, the draw cycle was something that really stood out to me as well. So let's go ahead, let's collect some arrows, let's get outside. We're gonna sling a whole bunch. All right, so this is the best part. We're gonna climb this 3D ladder, and I'll kind of shut up and shoot, and we'll just get after it. We'll shoot some from over here, we'll shoot some from the gazebo, and then once we turn off the cameras, before we go inside and do the speed test sound and give it the grade, I'll shoot a whole bunch more throughout the day. Usually I wait for a really pretty day to do the reviews, and then as gradually as we've kind of done more and more reviews, I just realized we're all at the mercy of the weather, you know, as hunters. So whatever day, you know, whatever it gives us, that's what we're gonna do the review on, and man, we got 40-mile-an-hour gust. We will see. So we have a boar at 30 and 2 bucks at 35. And like I said, I'm gonna do less talking, more shooting, and we'll just climb all the way up to 50. Most of the targets are at 5-yard increments. And this thing, I love this bow. I know I say that about a lot of bows, and I think it's just because of my passion for bow hunting and archery and bows in general, but this one stands out for sure. Barely any feeling in the hand. It's so quiet. I can't wait to put it on that decibel reader. It gets really nice speeds for the unbelievable draw cycle it has, and then it just holds. So I think the hold would be very distinct for somebody. It may be even uncomfortable at first because it is so different. But I think gradually, as you were to shoot it, I love the grip on this bow. I think it is a great idea. Let's shoot one on the kicking buck. Put a better shot on that one. And as I've got to shoot it more, I love the hold more and more and more. Make your setup in your situation really, make your bow accessible. Make it really easy to get your daily reps. And we talk about daily reps. Set yourself up for success. The only way to improve is that consistent practice throughout the year before your season. Don't put your bow down, set it up somewhere where you can get it. Set up an area where you enjoy to be in and you enjoy to shoot. I think that's the most valuable thing you can do for yourself as a hunter, is find that place where you kind of, like, this is my place. I love being out here. I love grilling, cooking good food for my family, shooting my bow while I'm doing it. It's like, it's made it really easy to be consistent. So we're gonna shoot, we got all kinds of 3D targets. We'll go turkey at 20. And for those of you who shot the inline last year, shoot this bow. The draw cycle is night and day. It's crazy because they have the same mods. That cam makes the world of difference. So this cam, this core cam is so much smoother than the inline, I think. The pins, this isn't like the bow where the pins dial down the fastest that I've seen from the past, but once you do get comfortable and set up, man, it holds really, really nice. I'm gonna put one more shot on that buck. I've already made a commitment to myself that I'm gonna put this one in the field. So I'm gonna hold on to it as long as I can. There we go. So again, the wind is kind of blowing me around a little bit. I'm not making excuses, but man, it is kind of tough. It's been like this all day. I kept thinking that it would die down a little bit, so we waited a little bit to get out here, but then it didn't, so I just said, fuck it. Let's go coyote, or gray wolf at 35. But even when you do a quick, it's just a smooth process, man. Effortless from the very beginning to the end, from the first part of that draw cycle to the holding to the release. It's just an effortless, smooth bow. It's just crisp. Man, crisp is the word that comes to mind when I shoot this. Let's go big black bear, and then we'll do the full draw stall. I made a comment, I think it was on one of my stories, but this isn't just one of my favorite prime bows. I think it's up there. This would give all the 5 top bows from last year that I picked a run for their money. One more in the black bear, and then we'll do a full draw. Man, it's just feels good. So now we got a 1 minute hold on that little black bear with one well-placed shot. We'll try to dial them down right at a minute. It's called a full draw stall. Kind of help you distinguish whether or not the bow is holding for you and whether or not those pins like to dial down. And the longer you hold, simulating a situation in the field, are you losing a ton of stability? So with some bows you do drastically. By 15 seconds, you're shaking, your shoulders hurting, your arms shaking, it wants to jump on you. I think it's just a good test for those of you out there that really want to kind of see how a bow holds. So little black bear, 1 minute. Man, it was tough with the wind, so I think maybe it was more the wind than me. It's very easy to hold. I mean, I'm not gassed. I don't feel any kind of soreness on me. It has a great back wall. So already, the wind, once you get out to 50, it really starts moving around. So we're gonna wait for a little, you know, that little break in the wind, then we'll let one go. Let's shoot another one. I might have to collect some arrows. I mean, you see that, it's just boom. You can get it up, feels good. And then I also feel like with a bow where you just feel so comfortable, it like boosts your confidence a little bit. Like when the bow just performs so well, you know, that confidence just kind of goes up. I just feel so comfortable slinging arrows. We'll do our speed test. We got our 3 different arrows. First one that we'll do, which we are going to use in the grading part, is this 500 grain. It's a 300 spine full metal jacket. We'll do all 3 of them at 70 pounds, 30-inch draw, 80% let off. And we'll test 3 different weights to give you a little variety. That's 277. I think this is gonna hover right there around that 280. We'll shoot 5 shots and we'll take the average. So if it does kind of fluctuate 280 or above, we'll make a decision here at the end. That's 280. And I hope it does, because man, this thing deserves the 8 out of 10. I love this bow. If it does get around 280, you guys have heard me say it, 500 grains at 280 feet per second is my perfect, it's kind of my perfect arrow speed. And since I'm planning on hunting with this, it'd be nice to get 283, nice. So it's climbing just a little bit. Let's see kind of where it wants to hover. 281, so it gets the 8 out of 10. So again, that's the 500 grain arrow. Now we'll do the lesser weight, which is a 440 grain arrow. This is a 400 spine full metal jacket. And we'll shoot each of these just a couple times, just to give you a little variety. So that's 299, almost 300 feet per second for the 440 grains. And then we have a 550 grain arrow. It's a 300 spine, but it has a brass insert to bump up that weight a little bit. We'll see what this one gets. That's 268. So 8 out of 10 for the speed test. That is awesome. I'm loving this bow more and more and more. Let's see what it gets on this decibel reader. I will shoot 3 arrows, all the same arrow. We'll take the average of these 3. I have a feeling this will be maybe one of the quieter ones that we've seen, but we'll see. We got the decibel reader that gives us that graph that we can refer back to on the phone. And then we got the visual up here on the wall for you. I knew it. 87.9. So maybe my ears weren't so bad after all. I'm just kidding. I like that we have something more accurate. But sometimes you can really tell just by yourself. You can tell if a bow's a little quieter or if it has a real weird kind of sound to it that vibrates and pops. And this one right from the beginning I thought was nice and quiet. 89.9. I would love for all 3 of these to get under 90, because that'll be the first bow in here in 2023 that we've gotten. And also I know we did the phase 4 without this decibel reader up here on the wall, but I'd love to get that phase 4 back in here to kind of see where it lands. But this thing is just 88.2. Awesome. That's awesome. So now that we've done, I think, 6 different bows with the decibel reader, now we do have enough to kind of see a spectrum of, you know, anywhere between 87 and 94. Okay, that's where we're at right now. So they do fluctuate some, and those decibel readings, again, magnified to an animal, especially a whitetail, you know, that's intensified greatly. So that's awesome to be able to see that a little bit. So Prime Revex, this is the 2. So we got 2, 4, and 6. Right off of the bat, fluctuate, averaged out in the low 280s. So it got the 8 out of 10 for the speed test. Awesome speed. I like the fluctuation with those arrows too. You go down to that 440, it was up to 300 feet per second. So this is right in a really nice speed category. So durability, quality, I gave it a 8 out of 10 on the durability quality. This is a really, really nice aluminum riser, very clean. Everything on it is very well made. You know, the next would be the nicest of aluminum risers. I think with the VTM, I gave it a 9 out of 10. The carbons, you know, up there with the 10 out of 10. So 8 out of 10 for the durability and quality. I gave it a 10 out of 10 for the appeal. Not just the colors from color schemes and camos from Prime, but the actual bow itself is just super slick. Everything is very well made. I love the look of these bows. This is just almost perfection to me. So again, we go technology category. I've been a little bit more, I would say, strict this year. And you know, with this binary system, it's all very, very basic. I do love the features of the inlining of what they're trying to do, but I gave it a 7 out of 10 for the technology. Again, I like the little, you know, the burger hole back behind the riser right here for that quiver to be in. So you can tell that they're thinking and they're trying to be innovative, but for the most part, it's pretty basic compound bow. Again, I'm not knocking that by any means. It's just kind of how our grades fall into place. Like I said from the beginning, I think this is one of the best Prime bows that I put my hands on ever. So I absolutely love it. To performance, 9 out of 10. I don't think I'm ever going to give something a 10 out of 10. So this is as close as you can get to just a very, very high performing bow. You know, I think I like that they did the not changeable mods for the draw length. So again, you get that peak performance at every draw length. But you can just tell this bow is just absolutely on the higher end of performance. And so again, if you're, you know, to everybody out there that has used a bow company in the past, and let's say you had a bad experience. So I had a guy, you know, got a Bowtech. It said it was rubbing the cables. He couldn't get it to tune. Bowtech didn't help him out. You could tell he had a bitter taste in his mouth. So, you know, his last comment was, I'll never buy another Bowtech. Okay, I understand that. If I had that perspective about Prime and the Prime Ion I hand with the dual cam system, if when I thought of Prime, that's what I thought about, which I do, I probably would never buy one again either. And then you miss out on this, you know? So again, keep an open mind. Companies are being forced to be innovative and creative and come out with new stuff because there is so many competitors that are producing good stuff. Companies are going back to the drawing board and just kind of redoing everything and trying to get the best bows possible. So don't be narrow-minded in 2023 when it comes to different bow manufacturers, because I think you'll be so surprised if you venture out from the norm of what you've used in the past. Or again, if you've had a bad taste in your mouth about Bowtech, shoot that SS34. I promise you that bad taste will go away. If you've had a bad taste in your mouth about maybe that dual cam system from Prime wasn't you, take a step back, get the Revex in your hand. I promise you, you'll be surprised. Some of these bows are just incredible. So total all score, 42, you times it by 2, you get that 84 out of 100. The way we've done the bonus points, we changed it 0 to 500, you get 3 extra makeup points, 500 to 1,000, you get 2 extra makeup points, 1,000 to 1,500, you get 1 extra makeup point. Anything you're paying over 1,500 boys, you don't get to make up 15, you don't get to make up any points for. That should be a perfect bow if you're paying $1,500 for it. So this gets one extra makeup point at about $1,150. So you got an 85 out of 100. And again, these scores I'm a numbers guy. I like putting numbers on things. And for those of you out there that are like me, I think you like that too. But don't let that factor into, I mean, I'm going to put this bow in the field. This is an unbelievable bow. Favorite Prime bow I've ever put my hands on, and one of the best bows I've put my hands on this year and even last year. This is an all-around awesome bow. Prime, love what they're doing. Can't wait to see what they're going to do next. Hey, thanks for watching. If you haven't already, hit that like button, leave us a comment. I love interaction. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We have so much more to come. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook for updates of anything else that we're gonna review. If there's something that you're interested in, hit those links below and check them out. And make sure, no matter what your setup is, what bow you're shooting, get your reps in on the daily. We'll see you next week.